In a moment, what today's Russian papers are saying about the economy here. Plus, a Kremlin advisor says the USSR still legally exists. First, the headline in Moskovsky Komsomolets: the slow death of Trump's peace plan. The Trump factor was significant and strong enough to get Moscow and Kiev to the negotiating table. But judging by the current picture, Trump's energy charge has gone flat. It feels like Trump's peace plan is dying a slow, though not necessarily painful death. What will happen when these death throes become so obvious that even the chronically optimistic US president cannot ignore them is a big question. I don't believe that Moscow wants to lose Trump. Politicians with an attitude like his are extremely rare at the summit of US power. But this desire, not to alienate Trump, clearly takes second place to the priority, a convincing victory in Ukraine. Everything else fades in comparison and is secondary. So the forecast for the foreseeable future, the special military operation, Russia's war in Ukraine, will continue. How? A military expert talks about Russia creating a buffer zone in Ukraine's Sumy and Kharkiv regions, most probably in Dnipropetrovsk region, and I don't exclude Chernihiv region, Odessa, Mykolaiv. The paper also reaches this conclusion: it appears Europe annoys Trump far more than Russia's intractability. At least he decided to impose sanctions, trade tariffs, on the EU from June the 1st, although President Trump has since delayed those until the 9th of July. The Russian government paper Rossiyskaya Gazeta reports that the families of 50 Russians killed in the special military operation have been awarded keys to new cars. Russia's deputy defense minister said Russia remembers its heroes and deeply respects their heroic deeds. The cars in question are Chinese, Geely M Grand. The widow of one Russian soldier said, "When we found out about the car, to begin with, we couldn't believe it. You don't receive gifts like this every day." Nezavisime Gazeta leads with Russia's economic problems as the government tries to cool the economy. Experts and entrepreneurs fear that instead of controlled cooling of the economy, we're now seeing signs of overcooling. Experts from the Center for Macroeconomic Analysis and Short-Term Forecast note stagnation in non-military industry, a drop in the production of foodstuffs, coal extraction continues to fall, the fall in production of construction materials is accelerating, metals production is falling, and in mechanical engineering, a dramatic fall in sales and production of cars in Russia, a drop in the production of farming machinery. The mood in the business community is getting worse. One thing has risen, and that's the USSR, according to this man, Anton Kobyakov, who is an advisor to President Putin. At the St. Petersburg International Legal Forum recently, he declared that, from a legal standpoint, the USSR still exists someplace, claiming that laws were violated when the USSR was dissolved in 1991. This, he said, to try to make out that Russia's war in Ukraine is an internal matter for Moscow. If the USSR wasn't properly dissolved, then it is logical to conclude that legally the Ukraine crisis is an internal process. Apparently backing him up, chairman of the Association of Russian Lawyers, Sergei Stepashin, a former prime minister, he confirmed that from a legal standpoint, the Soviet Union in 1991 broke up illegally. But what are the implications of this? If the USSR still exists from a legal standpoint, what does that mean, for example, for the status of the Russian Federation today?